Our lifestyle might be literally killing me.
We can't keep going this way.
Step up, be a man, kill yourself to provide.
So what, are you gonna quit your job? Hey, welcome back to Our Family B.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Brigitte.
Some of you guys have been on this journey with us for a while now, and you know that I've been on medical leave now for about 3 months. This is because I was having severe, debilitating pain that lasted sometimes for weeks at a time. And we don't have all the answers yet, but it's likely that I've got a number of different autoimmune issues stacked on top of each other, including something like fibromyalgia and palindromic rheumatism or rheumatoid arthritis. And it's bad enough that just from the flare-ups, there's now permanent damage done to tendons in my shoulder.
What you may not know is that it seems likely that these flare-ups were stress-induced, and our whole marriage, Brandon and I have had totally different schedules. He's always working weekends, and I work about half the weekends in a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. We've never had a consistent day off together, and it definitely got harder when we had kids.
And since Brigitte took over the supervisor role in her department at the beginning of the year, we both were carrying a lot of responsibility and rarely having time together with our kids or just for ourselves. And it wasn't just my job that was becoming unmanageable, it was our whole lives.
And I was starting to really resent my job because I felt like our home wasn't being cared for right. I mean, we had to hire help for cleaning, which I actually don't mind doing, but we just weren't here. We didn't have the time. We were never home. And Brandon was ill, and we never had time to work on family life, let alone YouTube, and our channel was starting to take a backseat to everything because honestly, if something had to give, it was gonna be that.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough even then. It was like we were trying to climb a sheer rock face with shoes made of banana peels and ropes covered in WD-40. We couldn't keep up, let alone make any progress in our lives.
What we haven't shared with you guys is that disability wouldn't pay after we started getting some answers, because there is, of course, some treatment.
Basically, for me to go back to working 45 to 50 hours a week under those kinds of stressful conditions, family and everything especially, it looks like I'd need to be on a number of different medications. One that's an anticonvulsant, basically, to reduce nerve signals, as well as some immunosuppressants.
Big disclaimer here. We believe God gave us medical science for a reason. I mean, I'm in the healthcare field. And for those of you who are out there surviving because of medications like these, this is in no way a commentary toward you guys.
Yeah, I tried the nerve medication just at night in what I made sure was the smallest possible dose, and I was still finding that I was waking up not quite as sharp as I usually am in the morning, and as I did more research, it looked more and more like it probably was a pretty addictive substance. The immune suppressing drugs are a whole other thing, and look, it may be that one day I need to take these drugs, and if and when that day comes, I'll look at it as a blessing that we have some form of treatment. But I stopped taking them after a month, the nerve stuff, and I woke up the next morning in pain all over, and I was feeling depressed for a few days, but also my spark was back, like I was awake in the morning. Like there was something I'd been missing in my ability to create or come up with ideas.
At the same time, after Brandon had been out for about a month or so, we were starting to get some vague answers, and he wasn't in horrible pain all the time. He started to get a little bored during the day, so he started working on YouTube during the day while I was at work. And one morning that week, I walked into work and I had this realization that I didn't feel resentment toward my job. I've always loved doing ultrasound. I love the people I do it with. I just knew there was a million things at home not happening because we were both working full time. That morning, I realized things were okay at home. And Brandon was working on the channel, which we see as a big part of our long-term plan for our future. So that morning, I really felt good walking into work.
And then that same week, Brielle got this stomach bug, so she couldn't be in daycare for a few days. High fever, diarrhea, the works, you know how it goes. And normally this would be like a minor crisis in our home because we both just can't leave work. But I was home, and though it's still difficult for me to manage her sometimes physically, it was fine, because Brigitte didn't have to worry, and I could take Brielle to the pediatrician and stay home with her for a couple days. And it was really kind of sweet. She just cuddled up with Daddy for a few days, and that has never really happened before. And then she got another stomach bug just a couple weeks later, and the same thing again, but it was okay.
So as we were processing some of the diagnostic findings and the meds and the family dynamics, and also we were starting to realize that our family was feeling better and healthier than it ever had before. Don't get me wrong, we always made time for our marriage as a priority, and we always made sure the kids felt loved, but it was always the bare minimum because that's what we had to give. I mean, honestly, at the end of the night, you guys know as parents, like, you're exhausted. Now, with Brandon being more flexible, just as my job was becoming more inflexible, we all had time together. The kids were always taken care of, and Brandon and I actually had time to talk together when we weren't both exhausted. So I got to spend time with my best friend again.
So we were realizing a few things. One, our lifestyle might be literally killing me and it's straining our family. Two, losing income is really hard. But 3, we may not be practicing what we preach. I mean, the question should be, how would we counsel someone who's in the same situation, and why won't we make the same changes?
But we know we can't keep going this way.
We talked about lots of possibilities. We talked about me taking a less demanding position at the church, about maybe a part-time role, but none of them really changed our lives.
Yeah, like we could both go on working with Brandon taking meds and hopefully having less flare-ups, and in 10 years maybe save up enough money to buy a little piece of land and the kids could play, except they wouldn't because they'd be teenagers and wouldn't care, and we would have missed those 10 years of living to work instead of working to live.
And I don't think I'm gonna die young, but there are some other things with my health going on that we haven't really talked about, and because we've still got some things to chase down, that's why we haven't talked about them. But I've got an endoscopy and some more biopsies happening this coming week, so pray for me if you think about it. But it seemed like there was just one option for us, and I remember we really started thinking about it seriously one night, and it was kind of like the fog lifted, and it was a little scary actually.
Right, because we knew the solution had to reduce stress for both of us, give us more time together, and give you the flexibility to rest if you have a flare-up or if you feel something coming on, let alone all the doctor's visits and tests that you need to go to, which take time away from work. But as we started to see how all of that fit together, we were both kind of like, so what, are you gonna quit your job? Which we had never ever considered before this point.
And obviously, there's a big question of income there. But as we started really seeking God to give us direction here, fervently, I honestly thought that what we heard from him, if he answered, would be something like, step up, be a man, kill yourself to provide, because that's what I believe a man should do. Look, a husband is supposed to be a provider. And you can be offended by that if you want to, but that's the truth of it. Protect and provide. Those are the basics, guys. But what we heard from God was very different than what I expected we'd hear.
It was literally the day after we started thinking about that we received a big gift. And it was such a blessing, and it totally surprised us. Like, it doesn't change our financial future, but it was something we've been worrying about, and God took care of it. So we both were like, okay, is that a sign? And then other things kept happening, and I think the biggest thing was that I got peace about it in my heart.
I remember thinking for a while that I'd go back and work with our HR team to talk about making an exit over time, and I asked you what you thought about me working there for another year.
And I was like, no.
And then I asked about 6 months, and then 3 months.
And I still didn't like that, not with the way you were.
And so we started having conversations with some mentors of ours, the husband of whom happens to look after HR things at the church. And they were absolutely wonderful. And they prayed with us, and we went back and forth on options. And a few weeks ago, after months of prayer and discussion and many tears,
many tears,
Brigitte and I came to the decision that for my health and the health of our family, it was time for me to resign from the staff team of the church that we love and call home.
I'm gonna cry. This is in no way a reflection of how we feel about Christ Fellowship or its leadership. It's actually just the opposite, because under their leadership, under the leadership of our senior pastors, we've grown into totally different people than we were nearly a decade ago when Brandon joined staff.
So especially for those of you who know us personally or are part of our church family, just know we love the whole senior leadership team of Christ Fellowship Church. My letter of resignation was the hardest thing I can recall writing as an adult human. This is entirely about what's best for us as a family and for my health in this next season of life. Someone once said that pastors never really resign from ministry, they just get reassigned. I like to think about it that way, and I hope you will too.
What we need most now is prayer and support. We're making a lot of big changes, and we want to do it all under the direction of the Holy Spirit with God's blessing. We know He's in this, and we don't want to take a step without Him.
Also, guys, when people are ill, don't be afraid to reach out. In the church, we sometimes do this thing where we want to give them space. That's silly. People need to feel loved. Give them space when they want it, and don't harass them, but people need community when they're hurting more than ever.
Like I said, there's going to be a lot of big changes coming as Brandon shifts into working full-time on our business from home. This is going to give him the flexibility to rest if he needs rest and to help care for our family, but also he's the business-minded one, so if anyone's going to build this thing, it's going to be him. With me, of course.
Yeah, we've actually got a lot planned for the next year or two, and maybe even 10 years down the road. But for now, we're just starting to make this change, and it is a big change for us, and it does change our financial equation quite a lot. If you want to help us as we're making this change, the best thing you can do is to become a supporter on Patreon. We'll have the link for that below, or you can just go to patreon.com/OurFamilyB. We've got multiple levels at which you can support us for every different budget, from $3 to $50 a month. But please only do so if it works for your budget and your family's. But this is gonna be my job now. You're gonna see more content, different content, more channels, more products.
We have so much coming up soon, and you're going to find more ways to love well, live wisely, and be better together. So if you want to support us and you can afford it, thank you. We love it and we're grateful.
We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below.
Hit the like button if you like this.
Subscribe if you haven't, And until we meet again, don't forget, life is better together. We did it.
We did it. Hopefully they came out.
Yeah.